The sound of my mother's laughter through the wall made my blood run cold. Not because it was unusual to hear her, the duplex's shared wall between our units had always been thin, but because of what followed. "Jocelyn still believes we appreciate her doing this for us," she said between giggles. "Can you imagine?" I froze at my kitchen counter, coffee mug halfway to my lips. "My name is Jocelyn, and for the past 6 years, I've been paying the mortgage on this duplex where my parents live in the adjoining unit. It wasn't charity, it was what good daughters do, right?" "Mom, she's so predictable." My sister Eliana's voice drifted through. Like, who actually sacrifices their own life just to house their parents? It's kind of sad. I should have walked away. Should have turned on music or the TV to drown them out. Instead, I found myself pressing closer to the wall, heart pounding. "Well, the important thing is the plan." My father's deeper voice joined in. "Eliana needs a proper home now that she's engaged, and this place, it's perfect." "Exactly," Eliana squealed. "Alec and I can take Jocelyn's unit. We just need to convince her to move out temporarily. Feed her some story about finding herself or whatever. She'll totally buy it. And then we just transfer the lease," my mother added. "She'll understand. She always does." My hands were shaking so badly I had to set down my mug. The ceramic clinked against the granite counter, and I heard them pause briefly before continuing their plotting. "Besides," Eliana continued, "she's barely here anyway, always working late, paying for everything. It's like she's just keeping it warm for us." I grabbed my phone, opened my recording app, and held it against the wall. Every word felt like a knife twisting deeper. "What about the mortgage?" my father asked. "Oh, she can keep paying that," my mother laughed. "Consider it rent. She'd do anything for family, you know how she is." The next morning, I sat across from my mother at our weekly breakfast, a tradition I'd maintained despite my crushing work schedule. She smiled sweetly, passing me the syrup for my pancakes. "Sweetheart, you look tired," she said, reaching across to pat my hand. "Have you considered taking a break? Maybe do some traveling?" I forced a smile, thinking of last night's conversation. "Actually, I've been meaning to ask. How do you like living here? Is everything working out okay?" "Oh, it's wonderful," she beamed. "Your father and I were just saying what a blessing this place is. Although," she paused, perfectly timed, "we worry about you, alone in your unit. Eliana's getting married soon, and she mentioned that she'd like to live closer?" I finished, keeping my voice neutral. "Exactly. Wouldn't that be perfect? You could take some time off, maybe rent somewhere else for a bit. Find yourself." The exact words from last night's conversation. I nodded slowly, playing my part. "I'll think about it." Later that evening, I sat at my desk, staring at my mortgage statement. 6 years of payments, 6 years of canceled vacations and delayed promotions. 6 years of being the responsible one while Eliana chased her dreams on our parents' dime. My phone buzzed, a text from Eliana. "Hey sis, bringing Alec by tomorrow to see the place. Already have some renovation ideas." I opened my journal and wrote a single sentence. "They have no idea whose name is on this deed." My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something else had replaced the tremors. Something cold and certain. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I needed. "Gavin, it's Jocelyn. Remember that property law advice you offered back in college? I think I'm finally ready to take you up on that." "Everything okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. I watched through my window as my parents' lights went out next door, their casual betrayal still echoing in my ears. "No," I replied, "but it will be." "You've been paying the entire mortgage yourself?" Gavin shuffled through the stack of documents on his desk. "Every single payment for 6 years?" I nodded, watching him examine my financial records. His office felt safe. Neutral territory away from the suffocating atmosphere of home. "And they've never contributed?" He looked up, his expression a mix of disbelief and something darker. Not even utilities? They pay their own utilities, I said. But the mortgage, property tax, insurance, that's all me. Jesus, Jocelyn. He leaned back in his chair. That's what? 2,000 a month? 2,400, I corrected. Plus the maintenance costs. Remember last winter's roof repair? My phone buzzed. Another text from Eliana. Found the perfect paint swatches for the living room. Can't wait to show you. I turned the phone face down without responding. Your name is the only one on the deed, Gavin confirmed, tapping the property documents. You're the sole owner. They have no legal claim to either unit. I know. I twisted my hands in my lap. I need to know my options. Your options? My best friend Paige's voice cut through the restaurant noise that evening. How about telling them to get bent? I picked at my salad. It's not that simple. Actually, it is. Paige leaned forward. Remember when you missed my wedding because you couldn't afford the flight to Hawaii? Because you were paying their mortgage? That was different. Or when you turned down that promotion in Seattle, the one with the 6-figure salary? They needed me here. No, Paige cut me off. They needed your money. There's a difference. My phone lit up with a call from my mother. I declined it, already knowing what she wanted to discuss. The temporary move had become her favorite topic. You know what kills me? I said quietly. Last month, they helped Eliana put a down payment on a new car, $20,000. Meanwhile, I'm eating ramen to make the mortgage. Document everything, Gavin had advised. Every conversation, every text, every financial transaction. Build your case quietly. So I did. I installed security cameras in my unit, started recording our family dinners, kept every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of evidence showing who really owned this property. The next morning, I heard the front door of my unit open while I was getting ready for work. Keys jingling, footsteps in my living room. Oh good, you're home! Eliana's voice called out. Alec, come see the kitchen. We can totally gut this and put in an island. I stepped out of my bathroom to find my sister and her fiancé standing in my kitchen, Pinterest boards pulled up on their phones. You have keys to my unit? I asked, keeping my voice level. Mom gave me her spare set. Eliana shrugged. We need to start planning the renovation. These cabinets are so dated. Alec, at least, had the decency to look uncomfortable. Maybe we should have called first. Don't be silly, Eliana laughed. It's family. Besides, this will be our place soon enough. You can come visit any time, Joss. After all, you know where everything is. I felt something snap inside me, but my face remained neutral. I need to get to work. Please lock up when you leave. Later that night, I sat at my desk, adding today's invasion to my growing documentation. My computer screen showed my savings account, barely enough for 3 months' expenses. Below that, a browser tab displayed apartment listings across town. A knock at my door made me quickly minimize everything. My father stood there, holding a casserole dish. Your mother made extra, he said. Thought you might be hungry. I accepted the dish, noting the fresh scratch on its bottom. Not extra at all, but my own casserole dish they'd borrowed months ago. Thanks, Dad. I paused. Hey, quick question. Who do you think owns this duplex? He shifted uncomfortably. Well, we all contribute, do we? Family takes care of family, he said firmly, then turned to leave. I set the casserole dish down and opened my laptop again. The email from Gavin was still there, with attachments for eviction notices ready to be filed. My phone buzzed with a text from Paige. Did you do it yet? I replied, not yet, but soon. On my kitchen counter, I spotted a piece of paper that had fallen from the casserole dish. A printed email about property transfer between family members. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I picked up my phone again and texted Gavin. I'm ready. Let's do this. The moving boxes appeared on my doorstep without warning. 3 large ones labeled Eliana's bedroom in my sister's looping handwriting. Just storing a few things, Eliana chirped when I opened the door. The wedding's in 6 months. And Alec's place is so cramped. I watched her breeze past me, dropping more boxes in my living room. The security camera in the corner blinked silently, recording everything. 6 months? I echoed. I thought you weren't moving until… Oh, we're moving in way before the wedding, she said, checking her reflection in my hallway mirror. Mom and Dad agreed it makes more sense. You'll love having your own place, wherever you end up. My phone vibrated, a text from Gavin. Documents ready. Come by whenever. Actually, I said carefully, I've been thinking about that. Since I'm the one paying the mortgage. Eliana's laugh cut me off. Still hung up on that? God, Joss, you're so… what's the word? Transactional. Family helps family. Remember when Mom and Dad paid for my college? They didn't pay for mine. Well, you were always more independent, she waved dismissively. Besides, this is different. Alec and I need to start our life together. You understand, right? My security camera caught her expression. Not asking, telling. That evening, I sat in Gavin's office again, watching him review the footage from my cameras. They're getting bolder, he noted, pausing on a clip of Eliana measuring my windows for curtains. And these boxes, they're establishing residence. We need to move fast. I found this today, I said, sliding over the property transfer email I'd discovered. They're trying to forge documents. Gavin's expression hardened. That's fraud. We can add it to the eviction filing. Speaking of fraud, I pulled out my laptop. Look what I found in their browsing history when they used my Wi-Fi. He leaned forward, scanning the screen. They're researching adverse possession laws? Jesus. They're trying to legally steal your house. Not trying, I corrected. They think they already have. The next morning, my mother dropped by with paint samples. Eliana's thinking sage green for the living room, she said, holding up swatches against my wall. It'll brighten up the space. I sipped my coffee, recording the conversation on my phone. And where exactly am I supposed to be during these renovations? Oh, sweetie. She patted my hand. Your father and I have been talking. You work so hard. You deserve a break. Maybe rent a nice apartment downtown? Find yourself? Find myself, I repeated. The phrase they kept using, like a script. Exactly. You're not getting any younger, dear. 34 and still so… unsettled. She glanced around my meticulously kept home. Not like Eliana. She's really got her life together. That night, I heard them through the wall again, not bothering to be quiet anymore. Jocelyn's being difficult, my mother said. She actually asked about the mortgage today. She'll cave, Eliana replied. She always does. Remember when she gave me her college fund? I hadn't given it. They'd taken it. Just keep pushing the find yourself angle, my father advised. She's always been insecure about not being as successful as her sister. My phone buzzed. Paige calling. I stepped outside to answer. Did you file yet? She demanded. Tomorrow, I promised. I'm just waiting for one more thing. That one more thing arrived the next morning. Alec, alone, knocking on my door. Hey, he said awkwardly. Can we talk? I let him in, camera recording. Look, he started. Eliana mentioned some tension about the house situation. I just want to make sure everything's legal. Why wouldn't it be? He shifted uncomfortably. Well, she mentioned something about papers being transferred and your parents helping with some documentation. You mean fraud? He paled. I need to protect myself, legally speaking. Smart man, I said, watching him squirm. Anything else you want to tell me? About plans for the house, maybe? Eliana said. She said you agreed to move out, that you wanted to find yourself. He made air quotes, then looked ashamed. But that's not true, is it? I smiled coldly. No, it's not. After he left, I called Gavin. Got everything we need, I said, including Alec basically admitting they're planning fraud. Perfect, he replied. I'll file first thing tomorrow. Ready? I looked at the boxes cluttering my living room, at the paint samples on my coffee table, at the life they were trying to steal. More than ready. Family dinner felt like a hostage situation. I sat at my parents' dining table, phone recording in my pocket, watching my mother serve her signature lasagna while Eliana chattered about wedding plans. We're thinking of knocking down that wall, Eliana gestured toward the living room. Open concept is so in right now. Which wall? I asked. Fork paused halfway to my mouth. The one between the kitchen and living room. In your unit, obviously. She rolled her eyes. This side is fine as is. My mother jumped in smoothly. Speaking of your unit, sweetie, your father and I wanted to discuss something. Here it comes. We've been worried about you, she continued, reaching for my hand across the table. You work so hard, never take time for yourself. Always alone, my father added. Unlike Eliana, my mother beamed at her youngest, engaged at 28, and Alec is such a catch. I withdrew my hand. What exactly are you trying to say? Well, my mother's voice took on that syrupy tone I'd grown to hate. We think it might be good for you to take some time. Figure out what you want in life. Maybe somewhere else for a while, my father suggested. And while you're finding yourself, Eliana added brightly, Alec and I could— Who owns this duplex? I interrupted. The silence was immediate, thick. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. Well, she laughed nervously, we all contribute. That's not what I asked. My voice was steady. Who legally owns this property? Eliana jumped in, ever the peacemaker. Joss, why are you being like this? We're family. Family shares. Like you shared my college fund? Another silence. My father cleared his throat. That money went where it was needed most, he said firmly. Eliana had such potential. And I didn't? That's not what he meant, my mother interjected. You were always so practical, independent. Independent enough to pay the entire mortgage for 6 years? Eliana's face flickered with something. Guilt? Fear? Before smoothing over. Look, we're just trying to help you. You're clearly stuck in a rut. A rut, I repeated. In my own home, that I pay for. It's not just about money, my mother snapped, mask finally cracking. Eliana needs this. She has a future to think about, a wedding to plan. What do you have? The words hung in the air like poison. I have the deed, I said quietly. My father's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. What? The deed, the mortgage, the property tax statements, all in my name. I stood up slowly. And I have the security footage of you planning to forge documents to steal my house. Eliana's face went white. You were recording us? Still am. I patted my phone through my pocket. Have been for weeks. You wouldn't, my mother whispered. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, I replied. Or did I misunderstand all those lectures about sharing? I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Eliana, those boxes in my living room, you might want to move them soon. Or what? She challenged, but her voice trembled. You'll find out tomorrow. Later that night, my phone exploded with messages. Mom, please call us, we can work this out. Dad, don't do anything hasty. Eliana, you're being ridiculous. This isn't you. I forwarded them all to Gavin, then called Paige. They finally showed their true colors, huh? She asked. Completely. I watched through my window as lights flicked on and off next door, shadows pacing. They really thought I'd just give up my home. What did Gavin say? Everything's ready. Sheriff's office will serve the papers tomorrow. How do you feel? I considered the question, watching my sister's car pull up outside. She ran into my parents' unit, probably for an emergency strategy session. I searched for the word. Free. Through the wall, I heard Eliana's voice, sharp with panic. She's bluffing. She has to be bluffing. Jocelyn's too meek to ever lawyer up. This is ours now. I smiled, thinking of the manila envelope sitting on Gavin's desk, ready to be filed first thing tomorrow morning. We'll see about that, I whispered. The morning the eviction notices were filed, I took the day off work. Gavin met me at the courthouse at 8 a.m. sharp, manila envelope in hand. Last chance to back out, he said, but we both knew I wouldn't. Do it. By noon, everything was official. Sheriff Mohammed, a kind-faced man with gentle eyes, reviewed the situation with me. Family matters are delicate, he said. I'll handle this with discretion. I nodded, grateful. They'll probably claim it's all a misunderstanding. They usually do. He tucked the papers into his jacket. But the law is clear. You're the owner, they're unwanted tenants, and they have 30 days to vacate. Back home, I watched through my window as the sheriff's car pulled up. My mother answered the door, still in her gardening clothes. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw the moment she read the papers, her hand flying to her mouth, her body seeming to crumple. My phone started ringing immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Eliana arrived 10 minutes later, tires screeching. She stormed up to my door, pounding hard enough to rattle the frame. Open up. I know you're in there. I pressed record on my phone before opening the door. You're evicting our parents? She shrieked. Your own family? Yes. You can't do this. Actually, I held up my copy of the paperwork. I can, and I am. We'll fight this, she threatened. We'll get lawyers. Please do, I interrupted. I'd love to show them the videos of you planning to commit fraud, or the emails about forging property documents, or maybe the recordings of Mom and Dad discussing how to manipulate me out of my own home. Her face went from red to white. You recorded everything, I smiled. I learned from the best, sis. Wasn't it you who taught me to always keep receipts? She backed away, hands shaking. This isn't you. You're not like this. No, I agreed. The old me would have rolled over, given up her home, her future, just like I gave up my college fund, my career opportunities, my chances at relationships, all to support this family. But that Jocelyn, she's gone. My mother appeared behind Eliana, mascara streaking her cheeks. Please, sweetie, we can talk about this. We did talk. For weeks, through that thin wall, I heard you all talking, planning, laughing at how pathetic and predictable I was. We never meant, save it. I held up my hand. You have 30 days. After that, anything left behind will be considered abandoned property. Where are we supposed to go? Eliana demanded. You're so successful, right? Figure it out. I closed the door on their protests, hands steady as I locked it. My phone buzzed with a text from Gavin. How'd it go? Before I could respond, I heard my mother's voice through the wall one last time, not trying to be quiet anymore, but wailing dramatically. How could she do this to us, after everything we've done for her? I typed back to Gavin, exactly as expected, they're playing victim. Later that evening, Paige came over with wine and takeout. We sat on my couch, watching through the window as various family members arrived next door for what was clearly an emergency meeting. Look at them scrambling, Paige mused. Bet they never thought you'd actually stand up to them. They still don't think I will. I sipped my wine. Mom's already called 3 times to negotiate. And nothing. The time for negotiation was before they tried to steal my house. My phone lit up with a text from Alec. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I didn't know the full story. Delete that, Paige advised. He's probably just covering his ass legally. She was right. I deleted it without responding. Through the wall, I could hear raised voices debating their options. Eliana's shrill protests, my mother's sobs, my father's deeper rumble trying to restore order. Should we turn on music? Paige asked. Drown them out? I shook my head. No. I want to hear this. I want to remember what it sounds like when karma finally catches up. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. Please just let us stay. We're your family. I typed back a single response. You'll land on your feet. Eliana always does, right? Then I blocked their numbers one by one and raised my glass to Paige. To karma, I said. To karma, she echoed, and to finally growing a spine. The next 2 weeks were psychological warfare. Every morning brought a new tactic, a new attempt to break my resolve. First came the flying monkeys, distant relatives calling to tell me how cruel I was being. Your mother hasn't slept in days, Aunt Susan scolded. Is this really how you want to be remembered? As the legal owner of my property? Yes. Then came the love bombing. Deliveries of my favorite childhood foods, photos from better times, slipped under my door, tearful voicemails from blocked numbers. Remember when you were little? My mother's voice cracked through one message. And you said you'd always take care of us? I deleted it mid-sentence. Eliana tried a different approach, cornering me in my driveway one morning. I've been talking to some lawyers, she announced, waving a folder. They say we have rights as established tenants. I smiled. Show them the lease agreement. What? The lease. The rental contract. You don't have one, do you? Because you never paid rent. You're squatters, legally speaking. Her face crumpled. Why are you being so heartless? Heartless? I laughed. Like planning to steal someone's home is heartfelt? We weren't stealing. We were just what? Just forging documents? Just manipulating me out of my property? Just taking advantage of my kindness like you've done my entire life? She stepped back, startled by my tone. Face it, Eliana. For once, you're not getting your way. That evening, Alec showed up alone. Can we talk? He looked nervous. Off the record? I pointed to my security camera. Nothing's off the record anymore. Fair enough. He sighed. Look, I'm done. With all of it. The engagement, the house scheme, everything. That I hadn't expected. Really? Your sister? He hesitated. She's not who I thought she was. When she told me about the house, she said you'd agreed. That you were happy to help. But the way she's been since the eviction notice shows her true colors? He nodded. I can't marry someone who'd do this to their own sister. After he left, I heard the explosion next door. Eliana's screams, glass shattering, my mother's attempts to calm her down. He left me. Are you happy now, Jocelyn? Are you happy you ruined everything? I turned up my TV. The next morning, my father tried one last time, catching me at my car. I know we handled this badly, he started. Handled what badly? The theft or the gaslighting? We're your parents. No, I cut him off. You're tenants who violated my trust, and in 15 days, you're nothing to me at all. His face hardened. You don't mean that. Remember when I got accepted to Stanford, full scholarship? And you convinced me to give it up because Mom was too depressed to handle me moving so far away? He shifted uncomfortably. Funny how she recovered just fine when Eliana went to Miami for college, on my college fund no less. That was different. Everything was always different for Eliana, wasn't it? I got in my car. Well, this is different too. This time, I'm choosing myself. That night, Paige brought over dinner and found me laughing at my laptop. What's so funny? I turned the screen to show her my bank account. First time in 6 years I haven't had to make a mortgage payment for them. Look how much money I actually have. Speaking of money, she nodded toward the wall, where raised voices were arguing again. How are they affording a new place? Not my problem. I closed the laptop. Though I did hear Mom calling their credit card companies yesterday. Apparently, they've been living beyond their means, counting on keeping this place forever. Karma's a bitch. So am I, apparently. I smiled. According to the family group chat I got kicked out of, a knock at the door interrupted us. It was Eliana, makeup streaked, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Please, she whispered. I have nowhere else to go. Alec left. My savings are gone. I can't afford. Not my problem, I repeated, and closed the door. Paige raised her glass. Look who finally learned to say no. Through the wall, I heard my mother's latest criticism. I don't know where we went wrong with her. She used to be such a sweet girl. I turned to Paige. They still don't get it, do they? Nope, and they never will. She refilled our glasses. But that's not your problem anymore. I touched my glass to hers. No, it's really not. Moving day arrived with the screech of truck brakes and the thud of boxes. I watched through my window as my parents loaded their lives into a rented U-Haul, their movements angry and jerky. Need any help? Gavin asked, sitting beside me with coffee. Nope. Let them struggle. He'd come over early, just in case things got ugly. But there was no dramatic confrontation, no last-minute reconciliation. Just the quiet death of a family relationship, marked by the scrape of furniture across pavement. Where are they going? He asked. Some apartment complex across town. Apparently it's all they could afford on short notice. I sipped my coffee. Eliana's moving in with them. Karma's quite the architect. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I hope you're satisfied. Your sister's devastated. I showed it to Gavin. Still trying to guilt me. Want me to respond as your lawyer? No need. I blocked another number. Outside, Eliana slammed a box into the truck hard enough to make something crack. Our eyes met through the window, and for a moment, I saw the little girl who used to follow me around, begging to play dress-up. Then she flipped me off, and the moment passed. Remember my high school graduation? I asked Gavin. When they skipped it for Eliana's dance recital. He nodded. I remember. You said it didn't matter. It did. I watched my father struggle with a dresser. Everything mattered. I just pretended it didn't. The moving truck was half full when my mother appeared at my door, holding an envelope. Your birthday card, she said when I opened up. From last month. I found it while packing. I took it. Inside was a $20 bill and a generic message, my name clearly added as an afterthought. Keep it, I said, handing it back. Consider it your first and only contribution to the mortgage. Her face crumpled. Why are you being so cruel? Cruel? I laughed. Like taking my college fund was kind? Like plotting to steal my house was loving? Like favoring Eliana my entire life was fair? We never. Save it. Your time's up. Get out of my house. Later, after they'd driven away, I walked through their empty unit. The walls were scuffed, the carpet stained. They'd left behind broken furniture and trash, one final act of passive aggression. Jesus, Paige said, surveying the damage. They really showed their true colors. They always had, I replied. I just didn't want to see them. In the kitchen, I found a framed photo they'd left behind. Me at 18, standing alone at my graduation in a borrowed dress. No family in sight. Want to keep it? Paige asked. I took the photo to my backyard fire pit, struck a match, and watched it burn. My phone rang. Gavin again. They're gone. Sheriff Mohammed confirmed they turned in the keys. Thanks. I paused. Want to help me renovate a duplex? He laughed. Thought you'd never ask. That evening, sitting in my quiet home, I found Eliana's last Instagram post. A long rant about toxic family members and betrayal, carefully worded to make her the victim. The comments were full of sympathy, people who'd only heard her side. You could tell your version, Paige suggested, reading over my shoulder. No need. I closed the app. They'll figure her out eventually. They always do. A final text came through from my father. You'll regret this someday. I thought about all the things I actually regretted. Giving up Stanford, missing opportunities, wasting years trying to earn love that was never freely given. No, I typed back. I really won't. Then I deleted the message before sending it. They didn't deserve even that much response. Paige helped me gather the last traces of them. Old mail, forgotten knickknacks, the spare key they'd given Eliana, and added them to the fire pit. To new beginnings, she said, raising her wine glass. Through the empty wall, no voices carried anymore. No manipulation, no guilt, no schemes. Just blessed silence. You know what's funny? I said, watching the flames consume my past. They always said I needed to find myself. Turns out, I just needed to lose them. My phone lit up one last time, a message from an unknown number. Hope you're happy now. I looked at my quiet home, my true friends, my freedom from decades of manipulation. Actually, I said, deleting the message, I am. The sound of children laughing drifted through my open window as I watered my new garden. Next door, my tenant Sarah's kids played in the sprinkler, their joy uncomplicated and pure. Miss Jocelyn, 8-year-old Maya called out. Look what we grew! She held up a tomato from the container garden I'd helped them plant. Red, ripe, and perfect. Beautiful, I called back. Save some for sauce. My phone buzzed. A text from Nicole, my coworker. You won't believe who just applied for a job here. Eliana? Bingo. Want me to accidentally lose her resume? I smiled. No need. Let karma handle it. Inside, Gavin was measuring the living room windows for new curtains. We'd spent weekends renovating both units, erasing every trace of my family's presence. The wall they'd wanted to knock down now held my favorite painting. Sarah's rent came in, he said, checking his phone. Right on time, like always. Unlike some previous tenants, he set down his measuring tape and pulled me close. You know, when you asked for legal advice back in college, this isn't exactly how I imagined things turning out. No? I kissed him softly. Disappointed? Are you kidding? Watching you stand up for yourself was incredibly hot. The doorbell rang. Paige with lunch and news. So, she announced, spreading takeout containers across my kitchen island. Guess who I saw at the grocery store? Mom? Looking very different without her weekly salon visits. Paige grinned. She pretended not to see me, but I heard her telling the cashier her credit card was declined. I should have felt satisfied, maybe even vindictive. Instead, I felt nothing. The anger had burned out, leaving only peace. Did you hear about Alec? Gavin asked, grabbing plates. That he's engaged to someone else already? Yeah. I shrugged. Good for him. You really don't care anymore, do you? Paige studied my face. Why should I? Look around. My home was finally mine, truly mine. The walls held art I loved, not guilt-trip family photos. The spare room was a home office, not storage for Eliana's overflow. The garden bloomed with plants I chose, not my mother's prescribed preferences. Outside, Maya and her brother were helping Sarah water the flowers we'd planted together. A single mom starting over, just like I had been in my own way. But she paid her rent, respected boundaries, and filled the duplex with genuine warmth. Miss Jocelyn! Maya appeared at my back door. Can we make cookies later? Homework first, Sarah called from behind her. Sorry, she's excited about that baking lesson you promised. No problem, I laughed. Homework, then cookies. After they left, Paige raised an eyebrow. Look who's building a real family. Not family, I corrected. Community. There's a difference. My phone lit up with an unknown number, another burner phone they were using to reach me. I declined without reading the message. Still trying? Gavin asked. Less often now. I think they're finally getting it. Speaking of getting it, Paige pulled out her tablet. Have you seen Eliana's GoFundMe? Homeless after family betrayal? Very dramatic. 0 donations, Gavin noted. Guess people are tired of her stories. I closed the tab. Not our circus, not our monkeys. The afternoon sun streamed through my windows, catching the new paint we'd chosen together. Not sage green, but a warm, rich blue. On my desk, a letter from Stanford's continuing education program waited for my response. You're really going back to school? Paige asked, spotting the letter. Part-time. Now that I'm not paying 2 mortgages, I can afford it. Look at you, she smiled. Finding yourself after all. Through the wall, I heard Sarah singing to her kids, their laughter echoing where manipulation once lived. My phone stayed quiet, my boundaries stayed firm, and my life stayed beautifully, peacefully mine. You know what? I said, looking around at my chosen family. Gavin measuring windows for our shared future, Paige arranging lunch with casual permanence, Sarah and her kids creating new memories next door. I think I finally understand what home really means. And what's that? Gavin asked. It's not about the walls or the deed. I smiled. It's about choosing your own foundation. Maya's voice called through the window again, excited about a butterfly in our garden. Outside, life bloomed in soil I'd cultivated myself, roots growing deep and strong, just like me.